Matteo Giordano, hello, welcome to the Mapper Forward podcast.
How are you?
Dude, I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
Nice. Me too. Thank you for having me.
It's such a
Very
pleasure.
exciting.
It's such a pleasure. We became friends this year thanks to our mutual friend, Angelo de Blasio. Shout out to Angelo straight off the bat. And you are the owner of a cafe in Adelaide that is a brunch spot.
Yeah.
And is one of the rare businesses that has done well and thrived throughout COVID, right?
I cannot confirm that, but I know that, like, I know my.
You're so humble. I love it. Straight off the bat.
I know that, like, we are really happy with the results. So I hope, like, many other businesses as well, like, have done, like, are happy with what they've done and how it turned out.
Yeah. One thing I have definitely got to know about you is that you are very humble and that you're not the person to ask as to whether Pane Latte, which is the name of your cafe, is actually doing well or successful or anything like that. For you, it's all about the building, right? You'll just keep building and building and building and trying to do better from what I've got to know about you in our groups.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess, like, that's the challenge. Like, that's what we enjoy more than anything else. It's just like, just living the journey and
Living the
learn
dream.
along. Yeah. Like, that's, yeah.
How did you, because you're an immigrant to Australia.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Tell us how you got to end up owning a restaurant. How long have you been an immigrant in Australia? 10?
I came to Australia in 2010.
So 10 years, right?
Yeah, it'll be 10 years in October.
So how do you, in 10 years, get to own a business that seems to be quite the hub? I can't wait to come and visit. But it just looks like it's one of the hubs of the community, right? Because we should preface this by telling everybody you're a chef.
Well, I'm a cook. I learned how to cook in the last 10 years. Like, when I migrated to Australia.
And you're a business owner. So how did that happen? Had you done that in Italy?
Cooking. No, I've the closest experience I had with cooking was backpacking with this mate, a good friend of mine, that he had, like, a pretty strong, like, a resume. So, like, he worked in, like, big establishments overseas, and so he was, like, pretty much, like, teaching me, just the basics, so I could go through a trial shift and, like, try.
And you pretend to know what you were doing.
Pretty much, like, so he was like, he was like trying just to getting me the job so we could both, like, have, like, a more enjoyable backpacking experience, because especially, like, up in North Queensland, like, Port Douglas. So we got there, and, like, most of this restaurant had these signs on, so, like, 50%, 60% of the restaurant were hiring. And us coming from Italy, from Europe, we're like, what? Like, why is everyone looking for workers? So we need to go to do some work, because we needed to work as well. So it was like, just teaching me pretty much how to handle a knife, how to blanch vegetables, and how to cook a plate of pasta, like, at a restaurant quality. And then, a few bits and pieces, I guess. Start them through the dishwashing section and worked my.
You became the executive dishwasher, and then
correct.
You go up the ranks there.
That's It was a very interesting journey, and then, like, of course, like, I felt in love with cooking. After a few years, I started to try to understand, like, why some chefs are good, some chefs are bad, and trying to fill in the gap and start learning and watching videos.
What'd you find out? I'm fascinated by that. What did you find out about what makes some chefs good and some chefs not so good?
I don't think there's still like an answer for that. But, I will say that the way I thought it was working, that's the way pretty much like I approach like every
Yeah.
learning. It's like just open a book and see what the book says. Look at what experienced people do, and then I start. Yeah, there's like this big kitchen cooking project in the States. I don't know if I can call it out, but
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
like they
please
were
do. Call it out.
uh, um, anyway, just like it's not coming out.
No worries.
And they do a lot of like testing, experimenting, and
Okay.
in blanching. Then when I got like exposed to sous vide, and then I started to understand. Yeah. Anyway, I started loving what I was doing, and I wanted to be good at what I was doing. I just do. I wanted to enjoy and learning more about what I was doing. I guess. Yeah.
That's something, that journey really fascinates me a lot. The idea of getting good at something, and like building grit, and it's something that I spend countless hours researching, because it's, for me, understanding. There are some people, when they want to get good at something, they're striving for perfection, right? For them, anything less than perfection is unacceptable. How do you, for yourself, mark good?
Look, I have a very weird relation with perfection. Like I was a kind of I used to strive for it, like in the past, but I realized that like he wasn't actually taking me where I wanted to go. So it was more creating obstacles than like facilitate like the the journey.
Yeah.
So I started like to drop a little bit the bar and try to like uh,
Like, just be okay with not, like, just a little bit under perfection.
yeah, I just felt like striving for perfection always like was more as an obstacle than
I
a,
agree.
a aid.
You never
So
get
and
there, right?
yeah, I guess and going back to the fact that like I wanted to do like a good and a better job. I thought, I mean, I learned that's actually like one of the it's a key principle of leadership, because if you think that when someone comes to work, they're not coming there to do a shit job. So if no one wakes up in the morning and goes, oh, I'm going to go to work and do something terrible. So how do we understand like what makes people feel good about like doing good and improving and learning and try to focus more on that, and not like them coming in and like just do things. And yeah, I guess it's a bit more profound view of like seeing like what motivates people.
And do you bring that to your staff? Do you bring that approach to your staff?
Yeah, 100%.
How do you do that? I love this shit. Sorry.
I just,
I love exploring
I mean,
people's mind about this shit.
it's not a formula or anything. I just think when I see them coming in the morning, they're like, they coming in like because like they want to come in and not because they have to. So like, what, what makes them want to come in? So how do I bring light to that and make a like shine? Because there is a reason why they're walking through the door, and like it can even be like a financial reason. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll give you a pay raise if money is what motivates you and what makes you happy.
How do you go
It's
about
yeah.
figuring that out, Matteo?
I don't know. I think you talk to your people and see what makes them happy. Like if
Do
they
you
want to
do that?
become, of course, yeah. And
I know you
like
say of course, but I think it'd shock the shit out of you how many people don't.
yeah, but the thing is, I know that one of my long-standing barista, like I know that like he loves filming. He's trying to get a degree in film production. He's trying to get little shifts here and there, and like I'm very happy that I can somehow be involved in his journey and like in his dreams, because I want to help him achieve that. And like it just makes me I don't know, makes me feel also, I don't know if it's a selfish thing, but I think I feel good about the fact that like he's doing something that like makes him happy, or something that he wants to achieve.
Do you feel proud?
Oh, of course I am.
I know you
Yeah.
say, of course.
No,
You
of my
keep doing
no
this
no of
every.
my sorry.
But
I am proud. I am more proud about the achievement than.
yeah.
I mean, I'm also proud of myself. I mean, let's be honest. But
I
I'm
never
also
thought I'd hear you
proud.
say something
Huh?
like that. It's so good to
Yeah,
hear
I
you
know.
say that. You should.
Yeah, but I am. It's just like I don't think that's the I don't know. Nothing that usually shines in the conversation. Say how proud you are about yourself. I don't know. Anyway,
But hold on before you move on. And I know that Angelo is going to be watching this, and everyone from our mastermind group is going to be watching this in utter disbelief that you actually just said that. But as someone who's in our mastermind group, uh, I know that you want to skate over that whole "you're proud of yourself" thing, but you have. For anyone who doesn't know what Pane Latte is, please go look it up, because of course, Adelaide is in a bit of a bubble, but you've not only, with the help of your team and your customers, been able to stay open during this, but you found ways to elevate the experience for people by listening to what your customers wanted. And rather than reacting to the whole situation, you were present. And that is something that in the middle of a global fucking catastrophe, that really does speak to what leadership is, and it's something that you should absolutely be proud of. And even if you don't want to spend too much time doing that, I just want you to know that as a new friend of yours who met you this year and has the luxury of being able to call you friend, it's really inspiring to see that people are taking this moment and leaning into the pressures of this moment and trying to find ways to elevate the experience for themselves, because this hasn't just been great for your staff, it's been great for you. You've been able to find new freedoms in this, right?
yeah, correct. So yeah, I was thinking today. Everyone always talks about like profit. So, I mean, not everyone. Like the ones that like see things in business differently, they think about like profit first.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, have you read the book? I don't know. Anyway,
Which
there's
book?
this great book. It's called Profit
Okay.
First.
No, I haven't.
It's an old accountant that explains why we've been taught in the wrong way. It's not sales minus revenue profit, but is sales minus profit revenue. So yeah, it's very
Yeah, that is
interesting.
very interesting to look at it that way.
I mean, sales minus profit expenses. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So like you take your profit out before you paying everyone out. Anyway, I was thinking how like I'm actually trying to do freedom first. So I do sales minus freedom
Yes. I love
equal
that.
and profit equal expenses. And this is exactly what happened. I have to be honest. This thought has only maturated because we've been able here to have a job keeper, have a lot of like assistance from the government. So it allowed me to step back, and I'm pretty sure like this is probably common for many business owners like during this. Allow me to step back
Please do.
and regain my freedom. So instead of giving it all back and jump back working 6 days, 5 days,
Yeah.
I'm trying to feed slowly, my freedom is required. And I'm trying like just to lock it down and say, look, I'm not going to work more than 25 or 30 hours a week. That's it. So whatever it is, whatever's left, I'm happy, you know?
Yeah.
So now I'm a kind of like addicted to this. And I just like, when I talk to people and they go, how's business? I'm always, I'm working 4 days a week. And they're like, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. Are you making money or are you making money? I'm like, mate, who cares about money? I'm working 4 days a week. You understand?
Well, you're a
Like,
family man, and that makes it's more important, right?
yeah, I mean, it's and also like seeing the way this freedom has allowed me to connect to my family, to connect to my kids, to speak to them, and oh man, I don't think I'll exchange that anything else. So I had these kind of discussions with friends and family, and like we like most of them, they arrive to a point to say like, you look, by the way you're talking about it, would be easier for you to handle the keys of the shop back to the landlord and not going back to work six days a week. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's probably right.
Yeah.
This
is such a weird moment in the history of everybody's life. I feel like 2020 is saying, hey, listen, what do you want? What do you really, truly want in your life? It's like this golden gift of a moment to kind of mark a line in your life, in the sand, and say, 2020 is the year that told me I have to change things. Or I love my life and I'm keeping it the same. But I don't know anybody who's keeping their life the same.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of destabilization. It's a bit hard to grab your life and just like,
Yeah,
I guess it's a bit challenging.
Yeah, I'm making a bunch of life changes myself, and I'm finding the more comfortable I get with that and the shifting that is going to happen, the more excited I get. And I'm like, I'm so glad 2020 showed up to make these, like to put these changes right in front of my face and say, hey, dickhead, what do you want to do? Like, are you really happy doing the things that you're doing under the levels of stress that you're doing them? Or do you want to finish work at 6 o'clock every night? Like, isn't 12 hours of work a day enough?
12 hours?
I was doing 16.
Ooh, yeah.
You got to remember, I'm running Elixir and running the podcast. So that's two businesses in one. And we're starting a new project next month. New project starting. You know about it because you're in our mastermind group, and it's completely out of the coffee industry. But if I went and look, that's my dream project. And so in order to do that, something's got to give. And so 2021 is going to, I wasn't actually going to say this on this podcast, but I may as well say it. I am moving back to Australia. That feels so fucking strange to say out loud and in public.
How exciting.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Moving back to Australia. And flights are booked, and Elixir will be based there. We will be... This feels very strange saying this stuff out loud in public. I was thinking earlier today, I wonder if I'm going to talk about when I'm going to kind of talk about this stuff publicly. And I thought about whether it would happen today, and I thought if it comes up in conversation, it comes up in conversation, and I think I just made it come up in conversation. So thanks for being the safe space for me to say this. But Elixir's going to be based over in Australia if we don't sell the company before that. And the podcast will be based there. And my new project, which will be launching next month, which is a brand new podcast called Love and Other Delusions, That's the first time I said that publicly too.
Yep, that's exciting.
That is the project that I was going to be doing before, like right at the same time as when Elixir showed up in my life. It accidentally got created. I was meeting with Google Creative Labs so that we could launch this global co-writing album project with Google. And they were going to be our project partners on that. And it was called Love and Other Delusions. And so now we're just taking a part of that project, which was going to be a podcast-ish kind of thing. And we're not going to write the album anymore because that would absolutely be too much work. But we are going to do the podcast, and that's going to launch next, probably towards the end of September. And so for me, it's this kind of thing of like, hey, listen, you're doing too much of the stuff that's harder than it needs to be. And the resistance that's being pushed up against you in the battles that aren't worth fighting are no longer worth it. So 2020 is the year to make those changes. And now it's like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I know you guys watched me make these decisions and struggle with them and, you know, bawl my eyes out crying, trying to figure out how the fuck I was going to work all this stuff out. And it's just such a testament to how great our mastermind group is for.
It's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
How has the experience been for you?
That's another interesting thing that I'm learning now. It's like mentorship. So yeah, because you always hear about like mentorship. You don't really like, yeah, I know. I mean, I know what it's like in a general way, but like now I'm finding out to be closer, like, and also like I'm reading like how everyone like always talks about like their mentors and like what important figure is like in your journey. And yeah, and I'm learning this now by having the possibility to like interface with like these like six amazing humans and just talking about things and like, you know, bouncing idea back and like seeing who's done it before and like, you know, just like following their steps. I think it's.
Have you ever formally mentored anyone?
Nope. I don't think like.
All right, dude, I need to make this a part of my mission because you are the perfect kind of person to mentor people.
Thank you so much. But I think I think like I need to like, yeah. That's the journey is still like a long journey. Yeah.
I'm fascinated that you think that because I would have thought that you would naturally kind of you've done hard stuff. You've left a country, you've gone to a new country. That's hard unto itself.
That's challenging for sure. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And then you've opened a business and you have, before that, you went into a new profession. You learned the skills and you didn't just want to do the job. You tried to get good at it.
Yeah.
That's another hard thing. And you're a father. That's another hard thing. And in all of that, you've opened a business that's successful, whatever the fuck successful means. But you've stayed open. Like that's a history of doing hard things and having grit. So grit is defined as the passion and perseverance to achieve a long-term goal. This is the kind of track record that we don't have enough mentors out there that know how to do this. Because we live in a society where the instant gratification is what everybody's going for. And so grit has been cultivated out of our culture for quite some time now, thanks to like a whole bunch of things that, you know, the attention span of so many people is reduced and reduced and reduced. So they're looking for the instant hit or the instant gratification. So investing in long-term delayed gratification is something that we have to find a way, you know, in life, not just in the hospitality industry, but to kind of find a way to bring that as something that's a necessary thing to aspire to. That's why I think that you're like a natural mentor. You don't see it though, do you?
No, definitely not.
Well, I've just
I
got
see
another
myself a
new
bit
little
like a
life mission.
student. I'm the student.
Yeah, we're all students and all teachers all at the same time. Like this group, that our mastermind group, I learn so much about myself from observing all of you. I hope that that's like obvious, because to me, I'm just another part of this group, and we all coach each other. Everybody that's in this group is a natural mentor. Yeah, it's I think we need to get you doing some more like actual mentoring. Yes, I think.
Okay.
Do you think it's something you'd be comfortable with?
Never done it before. I guess. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
What's the long game for you?
I have to be motivated. I guess I have to do it for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I need to. Yeah, like it's like I don't think I have the motivation yet.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, until like I don't. Yeah.
I think the thing is though that as society starts to get squeezed, and over here society is getting squeezed with people not finding enough people to look up to. You know, people are observing a lot of destruction around them. They're observing a lot of, by here I mean the US. All of this stuff is, people are looking to be guided by other people. And perhaps it's just that Adelaide is doing quite well right now. So you guys, you're not feeling the need to step into that kind of wise, sage elder who's in his 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll come. You're a natural mentor, though.
Thank you. I don't know if it's a compliment, but thank you.
Why would you see it as anything but a compliment?
No, yeah, you're right. Yes, it is a compliment.
Because you've got to do the work. The work required to be that kind of a person. Like, I'm one of these people who, like you, I heard everyone say, you know, got to get a mentor, got to get a mentor. Everyone's got to have a mentor. So I started going out and getting mentors. And I was outgrowing my mentors within 12 months. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And these were really successful people. But what I started to realize was I was looking for mentoring in business success. But that's what I thought I was looking for. Well, what I was actually looking for was mentoring in how to find success if you're a person who has really high standards. Because one thing that I've learned in business, it's actually really easy to be successful, you know, financially successful, if you're prepared to fuck a bunch of people over. You know, it's really not difficult to be successful if you want to live by no values. But if you want to do business a certain way and still sleep at night, that's a tough one. And trying to find a mentor that can help with that journey, that has been much more difficult to find. I have one, Mark Dundon, who owns 7 Seeds in Melbourne. He's been a great mentor for me. I can pick up the phone and call him anytime and say, hey, listen, these people over in the Middle East just screwed me over and I don't understand why and I don't understand what to do. And, I've been working on this deal for 8 months, and at the 11th hour, just about to sign the contract, and they pulled out on us. And he's like, yeah, that's what happens. You're not a failure at it. And having a mentor that can talk me through that because he understands the emotions that I'm going through, rather than saying, you need to fuck those people over and show them that you won't be messed with this way. He just kind of gets me that way. But I don't think I've met too many other people that know how to handle somebody like me. I'm a fucking basket case, Matteo.
Huh?
I'm a bit intense, as you may have guessed.
You're lovely. You know it.
Thank you, sir. What do you, like when you look at what's happening in 2020 and you look at like 10 years from now, how do you think you're going to be changing?
Oh, 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you mean on a personal level?
All of it. Like what's going to be, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 37.
So at 47, do you still want to be in hospitality?
Only if it allows me to bring success and freedom, freedom in my life. So like, if it's there, I'll be happy to keep nourishing it. But if it's taking too much of my energies, probably I'll better invest them elsewhere.
Have you always thought like that?
No. Probably in the last couple of years when I started seeing like what was around, like, and I don't know, like you really need to have like a strong passion and love for this industry. And
otherwise it would break you.
At the moment, I don't know if this is going to be like it's a love relationship. So you don't know if like you're always going to be in love with it. So the relationship is like take and give. So I'm not sure if this industry will give me will give me as much as it takes.
That's a really great way to put it, because it really can take from you, can't it? It can take so much. What do you get out of it, though?
Well, at the moment, I get my wage and my time with the family, so I'm pretty cool with this. Yeah. I'm just gonna stretch it a bit out and see like if I can take a bit more and see like if we find a good compromise between like me putting energy into it and getting rewards out of it.
Did you ever get to a point with cooking where you loved cooking and loved being in the kitchen?
I think the peak was probably in the first 2 years of Pane Latte, and then I found out that there were like other aspects of the business that were really like triggering me in a different way.
Like what?
Yeah, so like the way like like just managing and
leadership.
Leadership, financials. I'm fascinated by like customer behavior, purchase behavior, like all the psychology behind like people coming in, coming out, establishing relationship, creating like something that is meaningful and have an impact. Try to make my surrounding a bit like more.
Like a bit of a wizard.
Just flourish them,
Like you want to kind of see how if I move this thing this way, how it's going to affect.
Yeah, more like orchestration,
Have you played with it?
I'm playing on a daily basis. That's all the fun.
It's much more fun doing that than the cooking and...
Well, it's not that it's more fun. It's because Unfortunately, I I stuffed up because I shouldn't have opened a business if I wanted to cook. I should have become like a chef. Instead, very popular mistake and fatal decision for
Most
most
people in
small
our
business.
industry.
Yeah, it's just like thinking that like you can create the business that does the job just because you can do the job, but it's not like that. Unfortunately, you have.
How did you learn? Like, for me right now, I'm getting approached by a lot of people who want to get into the coffee industry because they love making coffee at home and they want to open a business. And you keep saying to people, listen, it's very different. Go and work in the industry first for a couple of years before you open a business. And so this thing that you're talking about, which is a mistake that a lot of people make, actually tomorrow's episode of the Daily Coffee Pro is the most common mistake that first-time business owners make when coming into the industry. There's a trend happening right now, and it's concerning for me that this is happening in the hospitality industry because it's dangerous. For you, what was it like how did that realization unfold in you as you started your journey as a business owner? How did you at what point did you realize, fuck, this is not what I thought it was going to be?
That's a good question.
What did you think let's break it down. What did you think it was going to be like before you opened the doors?
Yeah, I thought it would have been like me doing what I want to do, no one telling me what to do, having like money coming out of my pocket, spending, going for holidays and having freedom and were all the wrong reasons. Were there.
Easy, right? It was going to be like, how hard can it be to run a cafe?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have probably the right like inspiration. I didn't want to make a change. I just wanted to improve my personal life.
Right.
And that is probably one of the worst things you can do if you want to improve your personal life. Opening an hospitality business.
Don't do it.
You talk to anyone.
100%.
Talk in investment and financials people. They will say, "Oh man, that's investing in a restaurant is probably the worst thing you can do."
Oh yeah. And then you open the business, or you start the journey of opening the business. And before you open the doors, are you still pumped, like as you're doing the fit out?
Oh yeah, I'm still pumped. I've still like been pumped from day one. I'm always like super excited about like the do shit for the business. Anything.
But then you open the doors, and what happens after that starts to make you realize how hard it is?
Well, we had the first service. And after like building up, so what happened? Like I'll just give you like a bit.
Please.
So I always wanted to open this business. I had like a couple of businesses in the past. I've been like a bit like well, I started when I was young. I was like selling palm branches, like Palm Sunday.
Oh, awesome.
And then my mom, she's always been like very entrepreneurial. She's always had the salon. She migrated from Egypt. So my mom is Egyptian.
Is she
migrated
really?
from Egypt.
You're a fellow Arab.
Italy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she's always had her like beauty salon. So since I was kid, I always would see her like making like invoices and stuff and working at the salon. Anyway, I moved here, and while I was working as a chef, I created this little project. It was called like the Adelaide Dinner. Uh-huh. It's a pretty lame name. So what I what happened, like during fringe season, all the restaurants that are located in the city fringe are affected because there are like during the Adelaide festival, there
Okay.
are these like major hubs that can hold up to 15, 20,000 people each hub.
Okay.
They're pretty big. So all the surroundings of Adelaide get forgotten, and everyone goes like, of course, where the action is.
Right.
And I was working and it was slow. I was like, you know what? I think there's an opportunity here. And so my English was already like good enough to, just, go talk to restaurant owners, get an ABN, insurance. So anyway, this was a progressive dinner. And I would like meet a group of people in Heinemann Square, get them to jump on a bus and take them like to 3 different restaurants for entree, main course, and dessert. They were
Nice.
all, so I would go to these restaurateurs and tell them, look, man, I know that Monday and Tuesday sucks, especially being located here in Anley Street. So how about I come in with a bus from 7 to 7:30 and we give dessert to these people.
That's
So I
so
will make this
good.
itinerary, like different cuisines and stuff together and sell it. So that's where and that's like, learning. And so, yeah, then I've opened up I was working a travel consultant in Italy. So I said, oh, that was good money. I was like, oh, well, if I was doing in Italy, mate, no worries. So I got a search in travel, opened up this virtual travel agency. A disaster. I don't think I even sold one
Really?
airfare or an insurance, nothing. Like not even
It's
my
a
friends. They were like,
very, very challenging space. It's
yeah, but I
ruthless
was
too.
like,
It's fucking ruthless. I was talking to somebody who works in SEO, and he was
yeah,
telling me that to buy ad spaces for the coffee industry is only like $1 per click. In insurance and in travel, it's $2,500 per click.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, because yeah, there's a different return on
Right,
investment, I guess.
right. And he said it's the most cunning and ruthless industry on the internet.
Anyway, that wasn't the reason why I failed.
Oh, was it?
That was because I just wasn't a travel agent and I didn't know what I was doing, but I wanted to give it a
Good
go.
for you, man.
And a bit of learning came, and that's where like I started learning about failure as well. I was like, oh, actually, yeah, that's
It's
fine.
good to fail, huh?
6 months ago, I was young. I mean, I'm not young. It was 6 years ago, so I was 32.
Yeah.
I was young. Um, so I was like, that's fine. I had 4 grand. I got this surgery, and I don't have kids. I don't have
Yeah.
anything.
You
I've
can afford to
tried,
lose it.
and I learned. And that's because there was a lot of learning
Yeah.
involved with that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You
that's
paid for the
fine.
education, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then opened up a Pane Latte. I was working as a chef. Yeah, when my mom sold this house in Milan, and she had this little bit of money, little bit, just like, yeah, we had to make it work. So I found this place like suburban, in a
Uh-huh.
suburb that was very affordable, super, like it still is very affordable. Yeah, opened up the shop. I thought I could make it work. And then we had the first service. And like after building it for a month and opening and all this pressure, and the
Yeah.
kid came in August, Paolo came in August, I got the keys in, no, Paolo came in July. I got the keys in August. There was all this emotional like load after service. Like I went to Natalie, I started crying. Oh, and then and then when I realized, oh shit, so is this what's happening? Like people are gonna come in and I am responsible for their experience.
Yes.
Oh wow. That's exactly what I was doing. I just wanted to cook bloody Italian pastries. And then slowly, I had to learn about like how to make that like be more pleasant, so I wouldn't like applying every end of the service. And yeah,
Oh, I
and
love
yeah,
that. You had to figure out how to make it more pleasant for people. The look on your face when you said that, as though that was like, fuck, now I've got to make these people happy as well as feed them.
no, it's just because I didn't think it would have been as easy if I was just natural. I was trying to do something that I've never done
Yeah.
it before.
Oh
So I
yeah.
was trying to, create like similarities and analogies with like what I've seen in the past. So that's what they do. That's how they pour water in the glass. All right. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And I had very little help. I had one or two friends that ever work in hospitality here because I
Right.
moved to Adelaide. So and luckily these friends were so helpful and they helped me with the feed out and they helped me. I had like this friend of mine. She's still like a great friend. Her name is Claire, and she had the big managing experience in hospitality. So luckily she helped me do this, do that, do that. Another guy came in. Oh, maybe table service, like, and I was like, oh, actually, now I'm starting to understand a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. Yeah.
How was the first year? I bet you your learning curve was so steep in the first year.
I was I was so bad. I was just like I thought that like talking to people by the same way people were talking to me was okay. I thought, oh man, that's why it's not working? That's what the chef used to do. He just used to yell at me. Why am I yelling at this guy? He doesn't understand. And he was like, oh, that's weird. And then I started thinking the dynamics. I was like, but actually, you shouldn't be yelling at people,
No,
you know?
people
And
don't like to be called all the things
I
the
had
chefs
no
call them.
idea. I had no idea. And I'm sure like I also like created like some bad experience for staff and patrons, for diners. And I am terribly sorry about that because like I just didn't know what I was doing. And I hope like they all understand that like
The stress, the learning
most of the time, like we don't really know what we're doing and we're learning,
on the
which
job.
is why, you know,
Yeah.
it's why like I'm very sorry I had to learn this at your expenses. But I've learned it now, and I'm very thankful that I've been able to learn with you, and you helped me like learning this. And probably they're like, I don't care. That meal was bad. I don't care if you learn, but I'm like, sorry. Just, I'm genuinely sorry. I want everyone to have, again, I want everyone to have a good
Yeah.
experience. There would be no reason why, like,
But you
yeah.
do. This is why I think you would be a great mentor, is because you have learnt what it is to fail. You've learnt what it is to try things, see opportunities, assess when they're the right opportunities and when you shouldn't take the opportunities. Like you've got a toolkit, and helping. The whole point of mentoring is helping people see the blind spots that may be coming so that they don't make the same they don't have to have as hard a journey as what you had. And I think that
Yeah, it makes sense.
you would be great and hilarious at it. I think you would be so fucking fantastic at it.
But don't you think that we do have to fail though
Oh
to
man,
like if there was
I
someone like
failed so much.
teach me if there was someone keeping me away from obstacles and mistakes, wouldn't my learning journey be like different, like a
Oh yeah,
different experience as well?
I couldn't agree with you more because. But the role of a mentor isn't to stop you from failing. The role of a mentor is to help you get through the failure and understanding the lessons in it rather than getting stuck down in the depression of what it feels like to feel that you didn't succeed. The success of a mentor is that they move you along and keep you progressing through failure. Because there's so much richness that comes from falling down.
It does, yeah.
Right?
It's oh man, just like if we all had like a better relationship with failure, this would just be like, yeah, completely different game. And I was looking, I keep getting looking at these articles that like keep listing like business that didn't make it through COVID, why this guy didn't make it, like, and like there's actually
So
like this
cruel.
general feeling and sensation that failure is a bad thing.
It's not.
And this is what like scares scares people and makes them sometimes do make like the wrong decision or choice just because the fear, it shouldn't be like that. There should be like a level of embracing this
Encouragement.
failure and try, like it's not necessarily something that, like, one of my best mates, his name is Fabian. He's a real entrepreneur. Like he's just like visionary. Like he's on another level. And he's also like a great mate. So he always like, look, mate, what's the worst thing that can happen? He's always like, well, like, all right, let's say that like everything goes really bad with your business. What's the worst thing that can happen? I was like, I don't know. I might have not much money, probably go live in a caravan, worst case scenario, with the kids, travel around Australia. I was like, oh, okay.
Yep. That
That's the
doesn't
worst
suck.
thing that can happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, don't get me wrong. That's not what this is like. It's a bit extreme, of course,
Yeah, but the point
there are
is,
some levels of safety in
the
there.
point is the failure teaches you how to adapt. Like that's what you're saying is like, all right, I lose everything, but I'm not going to sit there and let not having succeeded tank me and my family.
Yeah. So I would just like rephrase that
Yeah.
and say that like I'm not losing everything. I'm actually keeping everything, which is my
Yes.
family, and
Yes.
losing the rest.
And you're letting it go and moving on. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody said to me, so what happens when you go back to Australia? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, what are you going to do when you're there? I'm like, are you fucking kidding? I've got 2 podcasts and Elixir that I'm going to be doing when I'm there. That's 3 businesses I'm going to be running when I go back to Australia. And I'm just going to be continuing what I'm doing, continue the journey. And they're like, well, but what happens if the whole world collapses and you have to stop doing that? Like, well, we'll figure it out at that moment. Yeah, but aren't you scared of it, Lee? I mean, I've learnt how to adapt. I've been through so many failures that having to go through failure doesn't scare me anymore. Having to adapt to things doesn't scare me anymore. Not having the courage to do something, that scares me. Like not trying, that scares me. I wish that we could all get to a point as a society where we just tried shit more and didn't. There's no polite way to say this. I think that people only try things that they think they know they're going to be successful at. I think, and that's a generalization, but it's what stops a lot of people from trying hard shit, is that they're not guaranteed success, so they don't try it. And I would love to encourage more people. Everyone I mentor, I say this to. It doesn't matter. Like what you think success is going to look completely different during this journey. You're going to come out with great relationships. That's a mark of success. Your idea that you're going to have to like end up with a sum of money isn't what success is going to be from this hard thing that you do. You're going to grow relationships. You're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to be confronted with fears that you have. Like all of this stuff is deposits that you're making into your life currencies bank along the way. And so all of that, like for me, the greatest gift that I've got from all the huge pile of things that I failed from is I've learnt to be adaptable. So doing hard stuff and making big changes and shifts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not that it's without fear. There's anxiety about it. Don't get me wrong. I have anxiety about certain elements about going back to Australia. But, I mean, you can always get a job. You can always do... Doing hard stuff teaches you how to be humble as well. Don't you agree? Like, isn't that part of what it's done? Sorry, let me phrase that a different way. Has doing hard stuff taught you how to be humble? More humble?
I don't know if I don't know if I have an answer for this. I think like everyone does hard stuff. Some are humble, some are don't, and probably like a part of their character, or maybe like they probably enjoy feeling good about themselves, and I don't see what's wrong with that. I think, yeah. It's all right. I really find hard to answer this.
No problem. Do you think that a lot of that? I mean, I guess we also live in different societies. You're living in Adelaide, which is such a beautiful bubble in Australia, and
what a place!
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Whereas, like the environment that I'm surrounded by is very different to the, I guess, the environment that you're surrounded by. Do you, from what you've experienced in Adelaide, do you find that people lean into doing hard stuff?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do the hard stuff, but I just don't know like if they're doing it for the right reason.
What do you mean by that?
Then maybe they work hard towards something that like doesn't necessarily will make them happy.
Right.
So maybe yeah, just defining like the real objectives, I guess.
So do you mean by that like a motivating factor a lot of the time is, or from what you're observing, is materialism?
Correct.
That seems to be a lot of the reason that people do hard stuff. Yeah, I agree with you.
Even I would say even statues, like being like, be recognized as the ones that have
ego and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah. Plus, this industry it's a one of a kind, as well, because like it's a people industry. So like there's a lot of elements like about like it's a different environment. It's people are putting under like a different type of pressure and fatigue and
it's dysfunctional for sure.
Expectations, Pardon?
It's dysfunctional. When people from outside of the industry, right now, what I'm seeing a lot of, is people from the corporate world coming and saying, "I want to open a cafe," or "I want to open a restaurant. Can you help me do that?" And I try to manage their expectations of what they're trying to get into. And when I explain to them how dysfunctional I think a lot of our industry is, they're very surprised. They're really, really surprised. And to the point where a lot of them don't believe me. So I ask them to go and have conversations with chefs and go have conversations with baristas and go and have conversations with business owners. And, like while people like Gordon Ramsay is an extreme, I've seen many kitchens where hot pans have been thrown across the kitchen and where knives have been thrown across the kitchen. And like I've worked in places where I've seen everybody in my workplace cry at one point or another. It's not unusual.
Yeah, I feel like things are changing though.
Tell me more.
I think yeah, like mental health is getting a bit more like recognized, and especially like after the unfortunate, after like Anthony Burden passed away, like
God bless his soul.
I think like there's been like a pretty strong like it's been like very impactful. It like people were like, oh wow, like I mean, not that like it wasn't new, but I guess it was a kind of a shake, and now I feel like, although there is there is pressure, there's still like some of that old mentality. There's a lot of like there's a new wave coming in of understanding and like just like being like just let's say awareness. Yeah, so I'm very positive that like from here to like 10, 15 years, the environment for the will be a better environment, and like not only because of like external factors, which is like financials and crisis, and but also like because like a really desire to change from within. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I hope that that's the direction that it takes, because I'm still seeing too many people end up, I mean, I know a number of chefs that have ended up dying from, alcoholism and suicide and all that kind of stuff. It's big over here. And I know it is in Australia too, that especially like I know from having been born and raised in Sydney, that how dysfunctional that kind of situation can be for some chefs, and the stress drives them into drinking and blow and all that kind of stuff, just as a coping mechanism for either wanting to be a creative genius or the stress of the job or, whatever it is. So I hope it changes. I hope it doesn't take 15 years to get there though.
Yeah, true. I'm very committed to change, and like I can see also like a lot of establishment and like businesses that like are on the same page, and especially like a lot of like chefs that are real mentors, like so real chefs, real mentors here in Adelaide. They definitely committed to it as well, which is
Do
great.
you guys speak openly about it as a community?
Look, I am. I'm not really much involved in the hospitality community because I'm like I don't know. I just like I probably like I'm not from here as well. Like so my I don't have like this big connection, and also I work in my own league. It's a small suburban place. It's like yeah. I know that like things are moving around, but I don't have like a first, I can't really witness that outside from my own establishment. Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about when I met you was you being an Italian who came to Australia and ended up owning a cafe. I gotta know about your coffee journey and how.
Oh yeah.
And how you experienced tasting coffee in Australia.
I'm gonna let you guess. What do you think? What did I think when I had my first coffee in Australia? And I coming. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it was like a good reaction or a bad reaction?
I think it was a bad reaction.
Of course it was, because I came from the best place in the world, and I did really believe this, man. I was like been drinking like coffee since I was a kid, like 5, 6. You go to the bar, you can have a coffee and spill the coffee all over your like
white shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course, like we always had our macchinetta since day one. That was probably the first thing we packed in the bag before we left the count. Always.
And you added illy coffee into it?
So I was impressed because things were different. also the taste of the coffee was very inconsistent between places. Whereas in Italy, like like you get the bad coffee eventually, but like coffee is pretty consistent.
Uh-huh.
Consistent. So yeah, some places was good. You had to go at the counter and order, and then they would say like, "Where you sitting?" and give you a number. And I ordered an espresso. I was like, "Oh, this doesn't seem like an easy way to get a coffee here."
And it's shit
And
coffee
then,
too.
huh?
And it's shit coffee too in your.
And then, well, I didn't say that, but anyway, but I think this was also 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, maybe like where I was living, like
Where
where I
were
was
you?
going to have coffee.
Where
Huh?
were you when you first?
Well, now I'm talking about Cairns
All
right
right.
now, but then, and it was a little, but I also wasn't very like, I had zero knowledge about coffee. I didn't know. All I knew is that I was coming from the best place in the world. So the coffee must have been to my
Oh
standards.
God.
Like, because I had no idea how to make a
Uh-huh.
coffee in a commercial setting environment. Like, I had no idea. I was just like entitled because I was Italian. And I was like, look, I don't care, just give me my coffee, you know. And sometimes it was burnt, sometimes there was no crema, it's just, and then and then I guess like 6 years later, I opened up a coffee shop, and I went there. I had a bit of training. Someone hired me to be a barista for like 6 months in this place, and people were looking at me. I was like, "Oh man, this coffee's pretty bad." I was like, "Oh, all right, I learned," and then that's it. Then again, I said, "Oh, so this is coffee. This is
I
how
got
it
to get good
works."
at
All
this.
right. Back to the books, back to the videos, back to the same guys that were doing the food. It's like online
Uh-huh.
university that did like all molecular cuisine and scientific tests. And then I went there. I said, okay, this is coffee. And then of course the day after, I thought I knew
Everything.
everything about coffee. Mate, because you have to understand that the extraction must exactly last 30 seconds, because otherwise the level of it's just like pathetic, really pathetic.
Ah, I laugh because
And it was
I
like,
was there too.
it was so bad. Anyway, of course, I'll learn how to make coffee now more. Like, with all the respect for baristas and like the job, and I learned to make coffees. Okay, so yeah, so and then I left. I went back to the kitchen. It was like 6 months. I was like, ooh, what's this? Sorry, where's my
Yeah,
knife?
I want to
Went
be
back.
comfortable again.
Yeah,
What did you think when you first went to Sydney? I assume you traveled around Australia, right?
yeah. So Sydney was the last big city before moving back to Adelaide.
Okay.
Sydney was where I said, "Ooh, no, 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 big cities are not for me. I'm going back to Adelaide." And also I had like a visa sponsorship opportunity here,
Uh-huh.
so I was like, "Yeah, that's the reason." Yeah, Sydney was like another world, like,
The
and
coffee?
because I lived in Milan for 10 years before I
Ah,
left, but I come from a country town in South Italy. So I was used to big town, but Sydney was,
it's
whoa,
intense.
different country, was really intense. And I was living like with six people, with like completely different, like,
Yep.
etiquettes. And like, we were like, oh man, like, how does that
Yep.
work? Like, um, so yeah, I loved it, and I had a lot of coffee even in Sydney, but I still like I just went there for my espresso. Sometimes it was okay, sometimes it was disappointing. And then I learned that it was Lygon Street, and because Lygon Street,
You
you go there,
always
you see
end
the
up in
Italian
fucking
place. Oh,
Melbourne. Every time someone talks.
sorry, man, sorry. Yeah, that's in Melbourne.
No, but like
Everyone says that like in Sydney.
every time I talk to somebody about like coffee in Sydney, they revert to
It's
coffee
Lygon
in
Street.
Melbourne. I'm like, fuck. I swear the coffee in Sydney's great.
Yeah, but hey, but why see? But if you think about it, Sydney's never been
Be very
no,
careful what
I
you
mean,
are about to say.
pretty
Be very, very
like Sydney
careful
isn't
with what comes out of your
what,
mouth.
what Melbourne is Melbourne, but Sydney's never like been like,
Stop.
oh, it's like
Stop.
coffee roast from Sydney. food is on another level though in Sydney. Like brunch is pretty big. I mean, not that in Melbourne isn't, but brunch, like,
Listen,
yeah, I see lots
coffee's
of
delicious in
great things.
Sydney.
Pardon?
Coffee, like it's one of the coffee capitals of the world.
Yeah, I believe so. It's just like
Oh,
that
but
I
you're
don't know
thinking,
about it.
but it's not Melbourne.
Yeah, because everyone mentions Melbourne, like the Melbourne lattes, and like everyone jokes about like all these entitlements from people from Melbourne, which I feel like is exactly what I was feeling coming from Italy,
Yes.
you know?
But then that's why I say, like, we all have done that. Like, coming from, I remember the first time I came to America, I was still, I remember the first time I worked in cafes in America. Fuck, I was an asshole. I was like, I'm a Sydney barista. Like,
Don't talk to me about coffee,
yeah,
mate.
you don't know what coffee is supposed to taste like. Like, I look back at that and I'm like, I'm so ashamed of the
So,
barista that I was 10
yeah,
years ago here in America.
isn't that
Yeah,
amazing?
but again, it's that whole, like, I see that as one of my failures. That's one of the failures I've learnt from, because I
Yeah,
did that. I came into an industry with ego and failed at it because I had that kind of, you know, I certainly wasn't as successful as I could have been in that had I have come into it more humbly. And I mean, it was such a great learning experience to watch people completely reject you, because of course you're going to get rejected when you go into anywhere saying, no, I'm going to teach you how coffee should be drunk. What the fuck are you talking
yeah,
about?
it's interesting, but it's good because it triggered some,
Massive
learning
learning,
and change.
huge
Yeah.
learning. Like, you look at somebody that does that now and you're like, hey, dude, seriously, this isn't going to help you. Just be more humble. That's a part of mentoring where you're like, when you see other people doing it, you're like, I swear this isn't going to help you. Just drop the act and just be humble. You're in a whole different culture. I remember whenever I move to a new city that I've never lived in before, I always get a job as a barista. And it helps you learn how to, you meet new people and you learn kind of the flow of the city when you're a barista somewhere. And 5 years ago when I moved to San Diego, I did that. And of course, by then I had already done being the dickhead barista in America and thinking that I was too cool for school, and I had learnt my lessons. And so when I came in this time, I was super humble. And I noticed that when customers would come in from Melbourne, and this was always customers from Melbourne, they would come in and say at the loudest voice possible, oh, thank God, an Aussie barista, someone who can make coffee. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, someone from Sydney would never say that. No, they absolutely would say that. But one thing that you'd say to them is like, hey, listen, the coffee's actually really good here, no matter who makes it. And, it's just a different coffee drinking culture. And you got to approach it that way. And I would never have known how to say that if I hadn't have fucked up royally myself. And I was a dickhead, I didn't know any better. And nobody told me that, hey, do you want to consider being humble? I didn't have anyone to mentor me that way. But so yeah, that's why I'm laughing at all of your stories, is because that was me too.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, you should probably give coffee in Sydney a better go.
No, but I've been to Sydney the last time like 7 years ago. So like I still like had no coffee. Like I had no idea, like other than my Italian perception of coffee, what coffee should be. And not that I know today nowadays. I mean, I'm not a coffee expert. I own a coffee
Yeah.
shop. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a coffee expert. So I would say. Like, but wait, let me put this in a different way. I don't want to be. I think I know enough about coffee to be able to run a
Yeah.
coffee shop, but the coffee experts are others, are the ones that are hired to work on the coffee machine.
That's the marks of a great business owner in my mind, is that you're like a conductor that has to find the perfect instrumentalists that can make the whole symphony sound great.
Yeah, well, I'm not passionate about coffee as much as someone else
Yeah.
can be. So I don't want to limit that. Same with the kitchen, same with the marketing, same with the cleaning, same like with anything. Like I know what I
You're
want
the
to do.
conductor.
You know, yeah.
What are you passionate about?
Um, I love see things working with symphony and like
Yeah.
unison, just like
Cohesion.
working together and like moving projects like ahead and trying and trial and error. I like testing. I like to see like how different aspects or like of the business can um, generate like a different outcome. And I like to see, like, I like to talk to people. I'm passionate about like seeing, spending time. I love spending around like time around people. And I don't know if that's a passion. That's just something that I love. I love numbers. I'm passionate about numbers. I think that like probably in a different life I will get like a financial degree
Yeah.
if it's not this life.
Would you go
Yeah,
back to
I think
school?
I love numbers. Yeah, I need my citizenship first.
But
Yes.
that's something, once you do get your citizenship, that's something that would be on the cards for you, is to maybe one day go to school?
We had a bit of, yeah, we had some like really light
Yeah,
discussions,
nice.
but yeah, we'll consider. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I love numbers, and yeah, and then I like create product like development, creating like things that
Product
like
development kind of
are
things.
fun. Yeah, I'm learning about branding, but marketing. Angelo is teaching me like lots of things about like marketing that I found fascinating, and I like more than like making coffees or peel potatoes or cook breakfast. Unfortunately, or luckily, yeah.
Do you think that the stuff that you're going to be doing in 20 years from now, we were talking about 10 years ago before, but in 20 years from now, do you think you'll be living even close to a similar life that you're living today?
Yeah, I think, look, it's hard to say these things because, like, we change and we maybe like even our targets and objectives change. I would say that, like, if I could live this life in 20 years, I would be pretty happy, man.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I don't. I don't want to say I have low expectations, but like to make me happy, really like doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
So
hear you on
yeah.
that. Do you think that that's changed because of 2020, or has it always been like that?
Uh, always been like that. 2020, and also like what I'm learning, like in business, yeah, what I've learned in business in the last like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I think like yeah.
I want to put it this. I want to ask you this question. When I speak to people who have come into our industry, the one thing that all of them say was that the biggest mistake that they made was not knowing what they didn't know. And they had no idea that because of that, how hard being in business was going to be. And a lot of the time when I ask them, would you do it, knowing what you know now, would you do the same thing?
No,
Would you?
sorry, are you
No,
still
no, you go
going?
ahead.
I will probably, honestly, I would probably do it in a. I would still um, build a project, create a business. I like to try to, do something that like serves the community, the people. But I'll probably do in a different industry.
That leads me to what I was going to say. People really overestimate what success means in this industry, right?
Yeah, but that's because there is this definition of success that it's wrong. I mean, it's not wrong. Sorry, I should use the right. It's not realistic.
It's not realistic.
Like to be successful and rich and have a big house by owning
It's
a
not going to
restaurant.
happen.
It's not.
No. I remember once, Matteo, this business owner that I know, his staff were complaining to me. All of them were complaining to me. And he was a friend of mine, so I said to him, hey, listen, your staff bitch to me every time I go in there. And he said, well, I don't know what to do. I can't afford to pay them more. And they're not leaving. So that tells me that they can't be that unhappy. So what should I do? And I said, I think you should go and work with them. Have you ever worked in a cafe? And he said, no, that's not why I own a cafe. I own a cafe because I just want to be able to come in and kind of like, peruse around the cafe and get to know the customers. And then when I'm done, I can leave and go. And he's one of the people who that was in the first year of him opening the business. And he still had a lot of money behind him at that point. But as the money ran out, you come to realize that the realism of it kind of smacks you in the face, and you realize like, I can't do that anymore. This whole idea of owning a cafe or a restaurant being like a luxury thing. It's not like billionaires who buy fucking baseball teams. This business is hard with razor thin profits. And if you're looking to get into this industry to have fun, you better be one of those people who finds, like for me, being a barista was so much fun. But that's why I never opened a cafe. So many people wanted to fund me having a cafe. Customers, like lots of celebrity customers would say, if I pay for it, and will you run it? And I'll be a silent partner. Absolutely not. Because the fun that I got out of being in a cafe was being a barista. And I knew that if I owned a business, I'd never get behind the bar.
It wouldn't be fun. Yeah.
It wouldn't be fun at all. And unless you're the person who's running the business and doing that job that you love doing, it's a grind. It's not something that you do to get celebrity status.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get into this thinking that this is going to be easy and is going to give them some kind of celebrity status amongst their peers. It just doesn't deliver on that.
Nope. I mean, don't get me. You can still like own a cafe and create like a position where you work like 2 days, 3 days a week in the kitchen, 2 days on the coffee machine. But other than that, like if you open a business, like you need to run the business, unfortunately.
How did you learn how to run the business?
Well, I'm still learning how to run a business, and I guess, just like wanting to know what I don't know. So yeah, it's like the right questions, the right answer. Yeah. The more right questions, the more right answer, the quicker you learn.
Do you Do you wait for the answers to find you, or do you go looking for the answers?
Actively, proactively looking for answers 24/7, 365 days a week. Yeah, that's the fun again. Like that's why. That relief. Oh, that's why.
Are you someone who looks at challenges and gets excited by them, or do you get weighed down by them?
Uh, well, I like challenges, but sometimes I'm also like realistic. Say, oh shit, that's gonna be pretty hard to go through, you know.
Like, when
So,
COVID?
but I'm
Sorry,
also
go ahead.
so yeah. I'm not scared of challenges.
So, I was going to ask you two questions in one, and none of them would have made sense. Do you look at something like COVID, and do you get overwhelmed by something like that? Or do you lean into it and say, this is going to be fucking great. It's going to be so much fun to figure this out.
Well, they probably like two extremes. I would say more like, let's see what happened. I'll be fine. Let's move. Like, let's learn as fast as possible, and let's get our way through it. Let's find our way through it. But I've never felt like, oh my God, this is gonna be a disaster. This is gonna ruin my life. I don't think like there's anything that can ruin my life business-wise.
That's what I was just thinking. That I don't think that you're the kind of person. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen in business? That your business gets closed down?
Yeah, this reconnects to the freedom and to your
Life currencies?
what's the value? Yes, yes. What's the value you give to freedom? So how do you protect that? And if that's like, we've been learning about these bloody contingency plans since day one we started business schools 20, 50, 100,000 years ago. And there is a reason. But me, Matteo, that I want to open a business and I want to be cool. The last thing I want to do is create a plan to when I'm going to fail. Like, that's not in my mind. You know what I mean?
Is that the ego thing again?
Then, yeah, of course. But again, because when you open, you don't, well, when I opened, I didn't know about this. So maybe like, we all different. So like, I can't say that this happens to everyone. So I didn't know about this. But then I was like, oh, wait a second. How do I protect my freedom? And how do I have a plan if like, how do I call the landlord? How do I sell the equipment?
Yeah.
How do I tell my community? Let's have a plan for that. So if shit hits the fan, done. The plan, like, this just relieves me and makes me think, okay, at least if things go bad, I have a plan. Now, let's move forward and let's see what we can learn as fast as possible to go through it and again, like, make a difference. Let's do it. And this is what happened. So, I was like, of course, like there was like a lot of emotions involved, a lot of like unpredictability, a lot of insecurity, but it comes just with the business package. It's like, yes, if you're a business owner and you worry that like things are getting unpredicted because of global pandemic, you should ask yourself a few questions because like, things are never predicted in business. So I guess this is a very like good way to learn. Unfortunately, like there've been like few casualties, but I always like lean to talk about what's the good that's come with this. Like, let's talk about how this is gonna like improve our business life, personal life, and how we can use this learning to move towards the future.
What's the good that's come out of it for you, do you think?
I learned a lot about my people, about my team, about the people that work with me. Um, I got Angelo coming back from the States. That's a pretty
It's
good
your
thing.
gain and my
It's
loss.
yeah. Oh shit. I shouldn't say. I'm very sorry. Sorry, but that was anyway. You came back. Sorry. You
It's
asked. I have to answer.
fine.
Like Angelo has
We
been a
both love
blessing.
Angelo very, very much.
Yeah, he's been a blessing. Then there's been like all these conversation about like owning a business and like do the right thing, profit margins, hustling, what's good, what's right, why customers should feel less entitled.
Ooh,
All this stuff. It's a really
tell me about that.
this
Why should customers feel less entitled? What's that conversation?
like before, like there was like a zero tolerance and like forgiveness. Like someone will sit in, and if like standards weren't met, um, that's it. You getting blasted. You don't have any saying. Whereas now people are more like, they're going through tough time.
Right.
Yeah, wait a second. What do you think we weren't going through tough time before? I mean, this doesn't go against like us having to meet customers' expectation. That's still something that we
Yep.
must do. But at the same time, um, you know,
It needs to be more fair. It needs to,
yeah,
the tipping culture over here has, it weighs in very heavily on the way that customers get treated. Because people are scared that if they stand up to customers or if they don't bow down to customers, it's going to affect the tip rate that they get. So it's very interesting to observe the way that Americans experience Australian hospitality, the Australian hospitality industry. They think it's flat out just shit. And that if they tipped more, if it was a tipping culture, the standard of service would be higher. But I don't know that it's a higher standard of service over here or whether it's just people being more agreeable so that you'll tip more. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I always been fascinated by America's tipping culture, and I've always been like a supporter of like rewards and like getting people motivated, but I don't know if that's like always like the right way to motivate someone. So sometimes like standards maybe aren't met just because like the tip really has like a big influence on the on someone's approach to work, because like
Yeah.
it's interesting to see like how things like differ from the States and Australia, because here you still find like top notch customer service without the tips. So why you know yeah, then like all the wages come, like the wages come in, like all the award rates, like I mean in the States like probably like tips really make up for the salary, whereas here like award rates are usually pretty good, and maybe like tips are just a bonus.
Well, and tipping's not a thing. I mean, is it a thing in Adelaide?
It is. Yeah, it is, but it is, but no, it's like it's not expected, and it's it only like goes from a certain level of
From a certain kind of customer?
how do you say, like venue and establishment. So like if it's like casual dining probably would be different from fine dining. Cafe would be probably different from casual, fast casual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I please just tell you what is the last thing that I think like COVID has brought that has been like super great and enjoyable? It's been the way customers are adapting through change.
Ooh.
This, like, if you're a business owner, this is really like probably what will really make you the happiest, because if before 2 years ago, even a year ago, you wanted to apply a change in your establishment, you had to give the change at least 8 to 12 weeks to test it. Whereas now, people are more like, I actually like, I'm going like to this great brewery around the corner. They change like things like even like the way they serve you, they're changing every second day. And I've never been bothered by it. So anyway, what I mean is, you want to try a new dish that it's be like different. You can give it a go. Maybe with dishes it's a bit different. Sorry, I picked the wrong example, but customer service. Come order at the counter instead of order at the table, because we can afford to have like 3 people on, because we're not making any money, because we can only sit like one person every 4 square meter or 2 square meters. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. I'll come at the counter. No worries.
So people are not so bothered by.
Before you do that, you go, ooh. And menus like, oh wow, I can print this menu and change it. Oh, why can't I buy like some screens and put like the menus up like in a fast casual, because like the government was saying like you should laminate or like protect like the menus in a way they can be like sanitized between sittings. So you can put like a big screen with your menu there, and people won't be like, oh, that's tacky. We'll be like, oh, actually, that's
safer
because of COVID. So good. And now I don't have to hand out menus on the table anymore. That means that like I probably don't need like someone to go through the tables. That means that I don't need like a person like that does that job. They can do something different on the back end, on the other end, that actually it's more efficient and serves the purpose of the business a bit better, So you can tweak things and not being judged like in the same way. And this works also like with point of sale systems, curbside pickup, or e-commerce. E-commerce, man, like I never thought that I would plan selling pasta bake through e-commerce. Oh wow, people are actually buying pasta bakes through, like, it's, tell a year ago someone to go to your website
and buy a tray of lasagna.
And there've been all these business thriving, selling lasagnas through the e-commerce website. And then of course, like all the creativity that came through, that is just like, I am fascinated. So this is business. Like, people are forced to be creative and to make a change and to, think outside the box and think more about like their surrounding and their community and their local foodie club. It's just like,
it's fun to watch, isn't it?
That? You can't get that if you don't get a global pandemic, can you?
Yeah, there've been so many gifts from this pandemic, but I think that's the greatest one. Like, it pushes people into their discomfort zone, so that if they want to get out of it, the best way to kind of up purpose an uncomfortable feeling is to find a creative solution around it. And it's just been so much fun to watch people tap into their innovation and get really creative. And I mean, people like you and I look at that and celebrate it and get turned on like intellectually by something like that and go, fuck, that's awesome.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Did you see the toasters? We create these.
I can't look at your menu anymore.
You were so excited about it. They ended up like being a complete flop. Like, and we spent so much time, but we were like, oh, that's all right. Let's try the next thing. Oh. But if it was like, 6 or a year ago, and you try a new product line or a new, and you put all this effort and all this money and it's not working, like,
yeah.
oh, like,
yeah.
Now wait to see if actually they work. And then you have to stick to these things that are taking a room in your menu and in your cool room and in your chef schedule and service timing. And like, you want to get rid of these things, because what if someone orders this toaster while we pumping on a Sunday? Like, you just put things up there. No, all right, it's not working. Get it out. Next.
And you think that that's possible because customers are more adaptable now? Like,
that's the only reason why now we have like a different ability in testing and I mean, if in the past you were trying a product for put a dish on the menu for 4 weeks and take it off, I think I wouldn't agree on that. I would say like you would have at least left the dish for 8 to 12 months to have like the minimum necessary data to make like a little kind of like decision. But now you leave it 8 to 12 weeks on the menu.
If it works, it works.
Definitely not the thing. Get it out,
And how do you define whether it's working or not? Do you do that through the numbers?
Yeah. Well, I have KPIs on.
Have you
dishes,
always done that, or is that new?
This was since probably like 10 months, a year. Yeah, this was since I started reading about Michael Gerber, the MIF, McDonald's. Yeah.
Can you speak a bit more about your KPIs for people who don't know what that is? So key performance indicators for anybody who has never heard the term KPI. But how do you define the KPIs behind what is the mark of a successful product that you've introduced and one that isn't?
I'm just going to go like they come in my mind. So, but firstly, and mostly, of course, must be on brand. Mm-hmm. So, like must match like with our product offer. Then preparation time, preparation cost, so cost of ingredients, execution time. Key, like that one is got one of the highest, because like ticket time, service time, it's just like and the number of ingredients, steps for execution, and then we get all the feedbacks from the front of the house. We get the feedback from customers. We do there's like probably like 9-10. It's a checklist pretty much, but like there's 2-3 that are really important, which is cost of goods, speed of execution in like for service, and of course like customer perception and branding. Like that's probably like the top 4. That's probably and then like it's not very important if like the preparation takes a bit long. If it's something that takes like 2 hours to be prepared. Yep. About 1.5 minutes to be served. Right,
because it doesn't slow service
down. And we have the capacity in the kitchen. We have the capacity because like you want to invest in active preparation time more than passive preparation time, because like keeping a pasta bake. Well, now I'll keep talking about the pasta bake.
I'm fascinated by the fucking pasta bake.
We don't sell pasta bake just because like it's really off-brand pasta bake. We don't We don't make pasta at Pane Latte. Anyway,
you don't make pasta at Pane Latte?
No, we only do events, pasta nights, but like we leverage on the fact that authenticity is overrated, and we are not authentic Italian, and that's because we are branched.
You're the first Italian I've ever heard that said that.
And that's why, and that's exactly the reason why we are unique and different, because Italians are really that's
when it comes to coffee, right?
That's our strength, pretty much. The Italian are like, why you don't put cream in the carbonara? I was like, mate, I don't even care about the carbonara. I'm making poached eggs. I was like, what? Poached eggs? Yeah, poached eggs and bacon. And they were like, oh, have you got a croissant, please? I said, no, sorry, I don't have a croissant. So yeah, but what? You're in an Italian place. Yeah, we're in an Italian place, but we make brunch, English breakfast. Okay. Can I just have like a sandwich? This is usually the
The fallback.
the conversation that happens with like people before they convert to the brand. And then like it's like, oh, why don't you try the PRT, which is the Italian BLT? Instead of having bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes, go pancetta, radicchio, and tomato. Relish, and it's made in house. And then the pancetta is from Nino's, the butcher from Campbelltown, which is the Italian spot. It's got provolone, radicchio. We make tomato relish in the house. The bread is made by an Italian baker, rustico. It's just like it's not an Italian staple or standard.
But you've Italianized
but
it. I don't think
it's
that's a word.
connected to our culture and our tradition without being like authentic. I mean, it is authentic. That's another, authenticity is another like conversation. You need to have the 10 podcasts, like you want to be true to yourself. You don't want to be authentic. So you probably like can really like chip in this conversation in a very interesting way, being authentic and like,
When you define authenticity, because I mean, we've had conversations in our mastermind group about how Reggie said that, I think once, Reggie Black, shout out to Reggie, when he was talking about authenticity being one of those buzzwords that, people overuse, so it's lost its kind of meaning. And that sounds like the approach that you're taking, right?
Yeah, it comes from, now I don't want to be too specific because I'm not 100% sure, but authentic comes from a Greek word that like means like being myself. So the way we always associate it with food, it's how the word, of course, like it's the most common meaning is like authentic cuisine, authentic food, and you see new business coming up with these big authentic logos, authentic here, authentic there, but like that's not necessarily like the meaning of the word if you apply it to a different scenario, like you just want to be true to yourself. So if you put love in what you do and you do you don't miss the steps and you do things like in a way that agrees with you and you only believe that is the right way to do it, that can be your definition of being authentic, what do you mean? Like, also like, especially with Italian cuisine, like it's very funny because, like recipes like drastically change within like country town apart from 10 kilometers. So, and even like my grandma doesn't cook like your grandma, it's complex, but also like, it's definitely like overused. Like I don't want to be authentic. I want to source my meat from my local supplier. I want to get the right eggs from Clare Valley. I want to have fun when I cook it. I want the chef to have fun when he cooks it. You know what I mean? That's what I think it's authentic.
It's such an interesting word, isn't it? Because it almost means that if you want to be authentic to something that's outside of yourself, you're shackling yourself from being original and contributing in any way, where some of the authenticity comes from who you are. You're being completely the opposite of authentic in regards to yourself if the source of your authenticity is external. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, I do understand what you mean.
Like in the sense, if I'm trying to be authentic to, let's say, like in your example, if you're going to be authentic to the Italian culinary gods, first of all, what the fuck does that even mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. It's
because which version of Italian are we talking about? Sicilian being Italian, or Calabrese being Italian, or what are you defining as Italian, first of all? And second of all, if I'm like, what measure of authentic are we talking about? So if I'm going to be authentic to Italian cuisine, does that mean that I can't put any of my own spin on it, even if I'm living in Australia? Does that mean it's so limiting?
It's limiting, and it's such a shame if you live in a territory like this one, where you want to leverage on the beauty that surrounds you, mate. I want to go to those suppliers because they what are really, making the
Yeah.
difference. And yeah,
That's something I'm so excited about coming back to Australia for, is the quality of the produce and the connection to the land and the producers and the farmers, and people being so passionate about, oh, we sourced this bread from this particular place, and that is different in Australia than it is here. And it's kind of a culturally accepted kind of thing in Australia. People care more where stuff comes from. And I think that that has a lot more to do with the fact that our customers are a little more further along in the relationship that they have with restaurants and cafes than here. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. Our kids in Australia are taught how to order a baby chino from when they're like 2 years old. It's a part of the cafe. It's a part of their socializing into society, right? They go and they learn how to order their first, cookie and baby chino, and they go to cafes with their parents so that they can learn how to be good diners and how to experience that. So it's a part of things. Whereas here, that's not the case. Here, it's more a fast food kind of experience for kids. And we lose that connection with produce because of that. But whereas in Australia, people care. They want to know where their bacon's from. They want to know where their eggs are from and their bread is from. It's very exciting to me.
it's great.
It
It's great.
really
Yeah.
is. Do you think that if you were to open another place, would it run parallel to kind of like what you've done with this idea of authenticity is overrated?
It's just something that it's attached to Pane Latte. I think I will still be authentic in the way like I do business and what I think it's right and it's wrong, I guess. But that slogan or that is just like a way to make noise and say, hey, look,
We're going to do what we want.
I'm doing things differently. Why don't you give us a try? Like it's going to be worth it, promise.
Yeah, and it sounds like people are responding really well. Especially as you adapt to the new, I don't know what, landscape that is the hospitality industry seems to be trying to work out right now. And it seems like Adelaide really is in a great bubble when it comes to this stuff. Melbourne's getting pummeled right now. It's going to be devastating to see which businesses actually can survive this and which ones don't.
Yeah, I don't know the latest, but in the last few days, things seem to start improving a bit in Victoria, which is a bit promising.
Yeah, I just don't know how many businesses are going to be able to go, particularly because JobSeeker runs out at the end of September, right?
They extended.
Oh, did they? How long did they extend it?
So they extended until April 2021,
Wow.
I believe. And but there are like different conditions to re-entry. Of course, like you still need to meet like the minimum requirements, like the loss in sales, and you won't get the $1,500 a fortnight, but it will go $1,000 from here to the end of the year, and then and I think from 1,500 to 1,200, and then from January we'll go down to 1,000 a fortnight.
Right.
I guess, I guess we have to see what happens, and hopefully, people just
Let's hope that there's not going to be as many businesses failing as what some people are predicting, just because it would be such a shame to see these businesses that have worked so hard to, I mean, Melbourne is such a spectacular foodie city.
Yeah, I'm always like, yeah, mind blowing. Every
Maybe
time
not
I
as
go there,
good
I'm
as
always
Sydney, but still really up there.
really. Oh, I'm not sure about that. Maybe I really need to go back to Sydney.
You know, this is like a long running kind of battle between Sydney and Melbourne, this whole foodie and coffee thing. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
there's been like this
I
big,
thought
big
Melbourne
battle
was like
between
yeah.
Sydney and Melbourne for decades over which has the best coffee and which has the best food. Anyway, I want to come to Adelaide, I don't know, sometime in a far distant time when we're allowed to travel again and see what the food is like there. So please make sure that you have is it the mac and cheese fingers, the bites?
Yeah, make it feel, yeah. They're just like, yeah,
Oh my
bites.
God.
They look
Oh my
good, eh?
God. Jeez. I really hope you come up with a vegan version of that. Just for when I'm there.
We
That's it.
might.
I don't need you to serve them to anybody else. Just when I'm there, I would like for you to have that for me, please.
No problem. There will be plenty of vegan options anyway.
All right. Thank you so much, Matteo. This has been a great conversation.
That
And
was fun. Thank you for.
I got to say, you know, our mastermind group is such a big gift that's been given to all of us that
Everyone.
are in it. I was going to say to me, but all
Yeah,
of us that are in it is just so great.
everyone. I can definitely say everyone.
And meeting you has just been such a privilege and a blessing. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you. That's
Oh,
likewise.
thank
Thank
you,
you so
dude.
much.
It's exciting to see what's coming next for all of us.
Yes, looking forward to it, man. More learning, and we're going to go
Can't
through
wait.
this
Can't
together.
wait.
Yeah.
We'll talk again soon.
Yep. Thank you so
Peace,
much
love,
for
and
having
peanut
me.
butter,
Have a good
everyone.
have a good
See you.
day. See ya. Bye bye.